Hello everyone, this is Hart, and we're back again with Dragon Force 2. And we're just going to fight with Yuria, who could either be Yuria or Julia, or Yulia in English. She's actually a pretty good unit in my opinion. And I'm going to show you one of her skills just here. So that was Salamander, which is one of those summon spells which attacks troops surrounding your general. As you can see, as we're slowly making our way further to the east, more troops are coming to attack us. You'll see this castle just here that I'm returning to will come to be sort of the crux of a lot of battles back and forth later on. Highland in particular gets quite aggressive once you've taken Fandaria, so you have to make sure you've got some pretty strong generals down south here. Otherwise you'll find yourself retreating away from castles you've just seized pretty quickly. So I fought Kozue in that castle just to the east. Down here the castles are only occupied by fairly weak generals, and usually only one or two at a time, so they're not meant to be much of an obstacle. They're usually pretty easy to get rid of. I'm in a weird mood today because we've got house guests coming later, so I want to get this done and out of the way before they get here. And then my dad, I don't know if it was for the express purpose of pleasing our house guests, or if Dad actually wanted one, but we have an espresso machine now, and I normally just drink instant coffee, but because my dad is a complete, what's the word, technophile? Technophile? He loves technology. I'm just running away from this battle, there's no way I can win it. So he made us all get up this morning and have espresso, and so I'm extremely buzzed right now. I don't normally drink espresso. So as you can see, Highland just goes, that's Hilda, one of Highland's most important generals, claims that castle and then just dumps a general in it and runs away. Much the same as I was doing, so I can't really complain. What is this guy's name? I always forget his name. I think it's Khan something. Kanshin, yeah. He's a priest, his element is steel, his starting level is 2, he's a 32-year-old male human, and he's from Topaz. And he's a member of the fighting group, the Rainbow Horse. So before, when I mentioned the Cat's Crucifix, the group of nomadic mages that Ropategi and Fione are members of, certain generals are members of these sort of factions within themselves. Another one is the Rainbow Horse, which is Nijinuma. But they are a fighting group, it just says, so that's another little interesting flavor to the story. I'm just doing some rearranging of units here, hopefully to regroup and take that castle with Highland that Highland took back.
お前は野心によって戦いに挑むのか、トラッドノアの民よ。ならば、俺は剣を取ろう。この国を守るために。
お待ちください、ファンダリアの王様。お話があるのです。
問答無用。行くぞ。
And it's finally time to take on Barts, the Monarch of Fandaria. So first we need to get rid of his subordinate Shuran, and I'm using Lenny to do that, mostly because Lenny needs the experience. I find that once you get Monarchs to join you, I tend to keep my Monarchs in groups. Altogether you get 8 Monarchs, and the most you can have in one traveling group is 5. So I tend to put, once I have my full complement of Monarchs, I tend to put 4 in one, plus another general that's strong, for example Barley, and then the other 4 Monarchs in another unit with another strong general, and I tend to use my Monarchs mostly to do all the fighting because you have to use them in the end game. So if you neglect to fight with them early on, you have to do a lot of training later to catch up. Okay, Barts is pretty interesting, so let me just find his entry. Here we go, Barts. He's a warrior. His element is darkness. His starting level is 1. He's a 20-year-old male half-Doggle, and he's from Fandaria. So he's mixed race. He's half human and half Doggle, those ogre creatures. He's a half-Doggle who was born between a Doggle father and a human mother. He lived his life away from others, but because he defeated the evil King Gelshia, he rose to acclaim, like he became the monarch in his place. Barts is an interesting monarch because his first skill is, what is it called? Dancing Sword, which increases your attack speed. So for each single attack that you would normally do, you do 2. So it's useful in a situation like this, if I was using Barts on my side to get rid of the enemy, but it's especially useful in a duel, because for every 1 hit that the enemy general has on you, disregarding critical hits, you get 2 hits, which basically means you can win any duel. So he's the ideal general to use in a duel. He also has an awesome mullet, so yeah, he's cool in my books. Yeah, so just as with any other monarch, you have to actually kill them. They won't ever retreat. And that message just then was saying that we've captured him as a prisoner of war, but because he's a very important prisoner of war, we'll have to talk with him later. And Shen leveled up and learned the skill Triple Dagger, which is the next level up of throwing dagger. You throw 3 daggers at once. Shen, what I like to do is bump up his MP with Statues of Astea. That way he can use throwing daggers a lot because it only costs 2 MP and it damages the enemy general directly, so it makes him a very efficient general to use. And you may have noticed that whenever you move around your generals from castle to castle, it'll often ask you if you want to take your prisoners of war with you. The reason for that is if the generals that are in a specific castle defeated enemy generals and captured them as prisoners of war, they remain sort of attached to that general that originally beat them in a battle. And so in the event that they do convert to your side in a domestic phase, they'll turn up in the castle that the general that captured them is currently in. So if all your generals are in a certain castle, then any prisoners of war those generals have captured are also in that castle, but you can't see them.
バーツ殿がいらっしゃいました。
どうやら俺の負けのようだ。
なのにさほど悔しそうには見受けられないが。
トラッドノアという国が邪念で動いていないようだから。サニス王女、あなたの目には邪気がない。
お願いします。協力してください。
敗戦の国王に何を協力しろと。
お父様が行方不明なのです。お願いします。協力してください。
わかった。サニス王女、俺の力が必要なら使うがいい。
バーツさん、ありがとう。
So Bart's very gracious in his defeat. Barley asks him why he doesn't look particularly put out that he's been defeated, and he says that he doesn't sense any evil or in Tradnor's actions, and he can see that Sanith has a purity in her eyes. She doesn't have any kind of evil ambitions. So then Sanith asks for his help, and he's a little bit surprised, but he decides to join our cause. He has battle elves and soldiers as his starting units, which are both kind of blah, in my opinion. At least it's better than Lenny, who has battle elves and mages, who are both ranged units, but soldiers are nothing special, and battle elves, when they're strong against another unit, they're very useful, but the rest of the time, they're pretty useless, in my opinion. Unless you have some skills on a general that can facilitate doing something tricky with them, like splitting them down the middle, trapping the enemy within, and then using a skill to get rid of them, and then just having them camp in front of the enemy general. It's not big, it's not clever, ever camping your ranged units, but often it has to be done. An interesting way to play, if you've played through the game one time or several times and you think it's too easy, is you can disallow camping. You can just enforce that rule upon yourself. You never allow your mage units to use the standby command, like right next to the enemy general, and just sap his life. You have to have them attack as melee. It does make it more interesting. It's perhaps not any more difficult, it just means that your battles tend to be a little bit less efficient. You might have to use a few more generals to finish the job, especially with nations like Tradnor, who have so many starting generals that use mages. Same with Moon Palace or Pale Moon. So with that, we've cleared all of these minor castles to the southwest. Yeah, southwest. I was about to say south left. That doesn't make sense. Oh, I haven't mentioned this yet, but today I got an email from YouTube saying that that one of my videos has copyright material in it, and it's the song that I did from Suikoden 2, Reminiscence, Kaiso. I got like a little email from YouTube saying like, your video may contain copyright material by the following company. It says Konami, but it says that I don't need to do anything about it. That it's not necessarily an infringement, but they might, depending on what the company wants to do. I doubt they'll pay attention at all. But if they were to make a fuss, I think I have to take it down. I doubt that will happen. Or YouTube might put ads on the video, which is kind of a little bit heinous, but whatever. Okay, so I've given, anyway, back to Dragon Force. I've given Bart 60 soldiers, and he's still got 20 battle elves. I prefer to give him more soldiers than elves, because I prefer them as a unit. So now we've got Sanith, Shen, Lenny, Bart, and Edelbach. which means that the only remaining people are Kaede, Everts, and Gangus. Gangus? Is that his name? The Bozak general. Yeah, Gangus. So we've got 5 out of the 8 main monarchs.